What makes GURPS Combat different or interesting? Why should I try GURPS Combat? Here is going to be just a very general overview of what's different in GURPS. I'll contrast it to a D20 based system. I'm not overly well versed in 5e mechanics, haven't played it for several years now, and I only ever did play it a handful of times at low levels as well. So I didn't get into any high level stuff either. In GURPS, you have active defenses. That is the big thing. You have active defenses. You choose how you defend against any incoming attack. In contrast, a D20 system like D&D or Pathfinder or many other attack target number type games where you're just trying to roll to hit essentially an armor class, they kind of assume that your character is always defending, doing his thing, moving, bobbing, weaving, parrying, and it's all just kind of baked into a single value. It's all represented by your armor class in D&D's case. Your armor class is affected by your dexterity, so your ability to move out of the way and dodge attacks, and it is added, your armor adds to your AC, makes you harder to hit by way of deflecting blows and absorbing blows. GURPS splits those out. Okay, so you have, when an attack comes in and you have armor on, if you fail to dodge or parry or block with your shield, the damage is then rolled. The damage is then subtracted by the amount of your armor, the damage resistance of your armor. So if I take 8 damage from a sword blow and I'm wearing chainmail, that is a 4 damage resistance against the sword swipe. So I would only take 4 damage. 4 gets through, 4 is absorbed by the armor. Now let's look at this in detail. A D&D monster runs up and attacks my human fighter dude here. He has an AC. The bad guy rolls a D20 and tries to roll over AC. If he does so, he rolls the damage, and damage is applied to the hit points, okay, of the human fighter. In GURPS, same scenario. This mean-looking thing, I don't know what it is, runs up and attacks our friend here. Our human fighter, he's got his sword and shield. I attempt to roll 3d6 under the attack skill of the monster. Because I moved and attacked, I would have, there's some some negative modifiers that would come in there. But let's ignore those details and just go at the basics here. I would roll to attack. I would roll under my skill, my own skill. I don't care what this guy's defense is or AC is. I just try to roll under my skill. If I do so, then that is going to be a good hit. That is going to land a blow on the fighter. The fighter then has the choice. In this case, he has a sword, a shield, and he can dodge. Everybody can always dodge. You have negatives if you're lying on the ground or you're pinned or tied up, of course. You can parry once per turn. You can block once per turn. You can dodge near infinite times. Every subsequent parry with a sword or a weapon gets harder. You suffer minuses to each additional parry. There are ways to mitigate that with special training techniques, different weapons, lighter weapons, fencing weapons for one, etc. The point being, I have defensive options, and I will strategically choose which option to use depending on the situation. For instance, this guy rushes in with his teeth and he tries to chomp me. We'll say he's got reach of 1. He doesn't have to engage in close combat. He reach of 1, whips his tail, say, or uses longer horns to get me. I may want to try and just dodge that. Maybe I want to dodge that because maybe I want to save my shield because I know another attack is incoming and I'm going to need that shield. Shield is almost always your best defense, especially with large shields. They give you so much coverage that they basically are giving you partial cover as well. So it's easy to get behind your shield, get out of the way of blows. So it's another strategic element added to combat when you get to choose your defenses and mix and match which one you want to use against which attack. Some attacks obviously cannot be parried. Some attacks cannot be dodged, but you can block. There's very few examples I can think of that actually, but you get the idea. D&D, it's always going to be the same. You can make your situation better by getting behind maybe a table or something, but you don't have any choice of how you're going to defend specifically. Your shield is factored into your AC already. There's another aspect to combat in GURPS, which is close combat. If somebody engages in close combat with you, your shield starts to hamper you. It still supplies some defenses, but your attacks are hampered. And you cannot return attack unless you have a close weapon. So you're dropping your sword and drawing a dagger and spending a second to do so. So you're giving up a turn. Whereas the close combatant, the monster in this case, biting, he just keeps gnawing away at you. Or somebody rushes in with a dagger and starts knifing you. That's a tough situation. Then all you can do is dodge. You cannot parry. You can't block. Can you block? You may be able to block with a negative. I forget off the top of my head. Another strategic situation where you will want to choose your defense, and you will be limited on your defenses. Additionally, weapons. Weapon choices are a big deal in GURPS. For instance, if you have a mace, that is an unbalanced, heavy-headed weapon. It does some nice damage, and it's a cheap weapon too, and it's easy to learn. It puts some nice damage, but if you parry with that, the weapon becomes unbalanced, known as unready in GURPS, and you cannot attack with it until you spend a second regaining control of the weapon. Think of it as you've swiped it in front of your face to knock aside a blade attack, and it takes you that split second to cock your arm back again and load that mace up for another strike. Combat rounds being 1 second long in GURPS, that 1 second is the opening that you've created an opening that your enemy may take advantage of and should. If you're using an unbalanced weapon, it's very helpful to have the shield. You've got to have the shield then to compensate, because you've lost your parry ability in some of these in that situation where you've used it. But if you can, if you've got that shield, you throw the shield up for the block, and then you just swing away with that mace, just baseball batting people. Once again, if you've got the mace and shield situation, you will be carefully watching which defense you use. If you're only being attacked by two sources, this guy moves in, say, you'll block and dodge. You'll want to keep that mace hand readied to counter strike. If a third bad guy comes in, well, then you have no choice. You're going to have to probably just block, parry, and dodge. And you're thinking probably at this point of taking an all-out defensive maneuver where you forfeit the ability to even attack this turn, and you're just gaining bonuses to your defenses. It's another nice option in GURPS. Different D20 systems have options like that where you can forfeit the ability to attack and add to your AC, which is nice. I like that strategic ability. But GURPS does seem to have more options that way, and I really enjoy that tactical and simulationist aspect of GURPS. One other situation that arises in GURPS is when you are attacked by multiple combatants, your facing matters. It matters to the point where your shield side you can only block on your shield side. So this little guy here, he's got his shield on his left arm. He can block the attack from this guy. He can technically parry or dodge also attacks from this guy. He has all defenses available to him as well from anybody in front. But if somebody comes in on this side, the shield option is gone. He cannot block. this gets interesting where the character starts getting flanked. If you get somebody like this, then your facing matters in GURPS. You spend a movement point changing your facing. And if you're in this situation, say your back's against a wall and you can't just step away, you're gonna have to, it's a tough situation to be in. You're either being flanked by both guys and you can't use your shield against this side, or you're turning to face one guy and getting it in the back from the other guy. All bad news. But if you're in a really bad situation, you can, on your turn and just run. There is no disengagement rules or attack of opportunities to deal with in GURPS, since things are 1 second, second by second. If this guy has the initiative, he acts first that second and just launches out of the reach of these guys before they can retaliate. In a D20 based system, things can get very different with attacks of opportunity, trying to get away and disengage. If you are flanked, you do get bonuses to attack somebody. You're more vulnerable. If you are being flanked, facing does sort of matter in many D20 games, not the old school ones, I guess, but so it does come into play, and for many people that is kind of the right amount of combat detail they want to deal with. GURPS is known for having too many details, too many options, but they are just that. In the end, they are options that can be ignored if they are too complicated and bogging down your game or giving you analysis paralysis. Just ignore them. Game works great with very basic rules. We've had a lot of fun playing very basic combats, and then you know that the details are there for that situation that later arises when you really need to make use of a rapid strike attack to kill the big bad evil guy. That's a good time. Maybe the players are ready. That's when you look up the details and you kind of learn together. Sometimes you just I admit as well, sometimes I just want to play an easy game. I want to get in and just start rolling dice and killing monsters and taking treasure, and D20 is great for that. You don't have to think quite as hard on strategic stuff. The D20 system is great for new players as well. It's great for entry-level stuff, but if you want a game, especially for people who play fighters, who enjoy playing fighters, if you want a game that's going to give you lots of levers to pull and lots of different strategic options, GURPS may be for you, and I think you should give it a try. It's my favorite game. Roll on.